All right, guys, welcome back to our practice assignment. Today we're going to be going over PA number 4, the corner jig. So let's take a look at this drawing, break it down, and see what we need to do. First things first, let's look at these tools. We know we're going to need lines and the dimension tool. So a little quick tip that I put here on this one is click both lines while dimensioning to make an angle measurement. So in my dimensioning video, I show how to do that. So if you want more in-depth steps, you can go there and check that out. But just know that when you're doing it, you're going to have to click 2 lines. So we'll come up here and we'll check our question. And our question for the day is, what is the angle for the spot marked A? And you'll see that I have this angle between that 18.34 line and this unnamed dimension there on the bottom. So we're going to need to figure that out. So the game plan for me is I like to make this corner my origin, kind of go up 18.34, over 0.44, up 18, over 30, down 10. I didn't give you this measurement, but what you could do is do, when we use the dimension tool, we could do 50 minus 30, and that gives you 20, or you can do the dimension of from this spot over to here to be a total of 50, come down 20, down 42, down left 46, up 9.78, and then back home to where we started. So let's go ahead and get into our drawing, and we can take care of this one. So if we switch back over to Onshape, go in here. Let's start a sketch. Shift S on your keyboard, P to hide those planes, and N to normalize that view. And like I said, you can do this whole drawing using only lines and dimensions. Now, there's a million ways to draw every drawing. You could do this with rectangles and other polygons and whatnot and kind of cut it apart. But when I do these drawings, like I said, I want you to challenge yourself to use the tools that I tell you, and it's only going to make you better with those specific tools. So these are going to have you run into some things that you might encounter when you're trying to do angles. Obviously, this one, we've already done lines for 3 or 4 drawings. This one's going to focus more on the angle side of dimensioning. So like I said, let's start with our line from my origin. So L on the keyboard. I'm going to click and go straight up. And you'll notice that our first measurement is 18.340. And that's a pretty big line right now. So when I type this in, that's way bigger than what I have. Even, I know I'm zoomed in, but even zoomed out completely, that's a pretty big line. So a little hack and a little quick tip you can do is if you press the letter F, that'll fit it to the screen. And then now I can go over to the side. So I can still zoom out using my scroll wheel on my mouse, but that's one way to kind of help you get back where you need to be. So now I'm going to come in here over to the side. We're going to go over 44. I'm going to shift over. We're going to come up 18 inches. We'll go over 30. I'm going to come down 10. I know that this needs to be 20, but I'm not going to type it. I want to show you guys kind of how to fix something there. So I'm going to come down from here, 20. Come over at an angle, 42. It's important that when you're doing angle measurements too, if I were to draw that as a straight line or a horizontal line, I'm going to have to delete some sort of constraint. So it doesn't have to be the exact angle you want. We're going to add that later with the dimension tool, but make sure it's at least at some sort of angle that's not straight up and down or straight left and right. So here we need this to be 46, and no big deal. I messed up on that measurement. It's supposed to be 46, not 16. Quick fix, double click your 16, change it to 46, press enter, and you'll see that it'll update itself the way it needs to. Now we're going to go from this corner, we're going to go line up 9.78. And then last, I'm just going to connect those two together. Once I'm done, I get a complete polygon, you'll know that by it turning gray. The other way is I can click on the inside and it'll turn orange for me. And now what we want to do, let me move some of these out of the way so we can see a little bit better. We need to add some dimensions. So we're going to go back into our dimension tool by pressing D on the keyboard. And remember, from here to here needs to be 50. So that's one way I could do that. I could click these 2 points like so, drag up and tell it to be 50. And that will in turn make this side 20. And you'll see that when I do that, remember, driven is going to be a black measurement, while driving is going to be a black measurement, while driven is going to be a gray measurement. So this 20 inch measurement is driven by the fact that this is 30 and the overall length is 50. So it has to equal 20. So if I were to change this to 25, you'll see that also changes to 25 because it has to add up to 50. I could change this to 49 and that'll make that 1. So you'll see by setting up these relationships, it'll kind of help you prototype things and do things in a way that you can always go back and change a measurement instead of changing a whole new drawing and starting completely from scratch. So now we need to add this dimension down here for this angle. So a lot of times you'll click the line and you're like, well, that's a measurement. I already have that. Now this is where that tip comes in. Zoom out again. The tip for clicking both lines while dimensioning to make an angle measurement. So if I go into my dimension, D for dimension, and I click the line, and I click the other line I want angle to, I will now get an angle selector. Now, what you need to notice is where I gave you that measurement. So I could go based off of just here. I could go based off of here, but I gave you this measurement. And that measurement, if we look back at our drawing, needs to be 144 degrees, okay? And you'll see it snaps everything else up. It moved that shape, okay? Now, I'm going to change some geometry, but this is the perfect drawing. This is exactly how your drawing should look. The question, zoom out, the question that they want is, what is the angle for the spot marked A? So I'm going to change some measurements really quick to try to end up with a different angle, but I will show you how to get that. Let's change this to 150. Let's change this to 10. Let's change it to like 15. There we go. So I need to know this measurement right here, right? This angle. Let's change it to 5. We'll go the other way. There we go. So I need to know this measurement right here. So again, I could do the dimension tool, but remember down here at the bottom, we have our measurement features. So if you click show measure details, and then it's asking you now select entities to measure. So if I click this line and I click this line, it'll tell me the angle between the two. Let me move this over a little bit. There we go. So it'll show me the max distance. It'll show me all these lengths and stuff, but I can get that angle. And if you hover over the actual measurement, it'll give you where it's giving that reference from. So this is not the right answer. Do not use 129.721 as your answer. It's close, but it's not it. You'd have to change that geometry back and get that measurement accordingly. But that is how you find that. So if we go back to the drawing, what is the angle for the spot marked A? You would put in whatever angle you find, turn this into your teacher, and then go from there. So that's how you do PA number 4, the corner jig. Leave a comment down below if you have any other better ways to do this. I'm always willing to learn and be taught how you might go about doing it. I know looking at these things, I've seen some people try to do it in like chunks, and they'll do like, this is a rectangle that's like 18 by 30, and then they'll build another rectangle off of it, and they'll cut whatever floats your boat, however you like going about doing this, go for it. But leave me a comment down below so you can tell me how you got there and if you still got the same answer. A couple of things to note too is if you mess up, you're probably not anchored to that origin point. So that's always a good place to check if you're running into some problems with this packet. But that's going to do it for us today. So I hope you guys are enjoying it, and I will see you next time.